This video is going to be an application of a sum formula. So we're going to be writing the cosine of arctangent 1 plus arccosine x as an algebraic expression. We can see that it's in the form of a sum formula for cosine, where our u is represented by the arctangent 1 and our v is represented by the arccosine x. Let's review what that formula is. So our cosine sum formula is the cosine of u times the cosine of v minus the sine of u times the sine of v. In order to evaluate our cosine of u and cosine of v and sine of u and sine of v, it's going to be easier if we look at the triangles represented when angle u is arctangent 1 and angle v is arccosine x. So let's look at those triangles. So if we look at the triangle on the left, we'll call it triangle 1. That's going to represent our u, or our arctangent of 1. And in order for a tangent to be a 1, that means its y value and its x value, or its opposite side and its adjacent side, have to be the same. And that's why we're left with 1 and 1 on our opposite side and our adjacent side. Which leaves our radical 2 as our hypotenuse. So here we see that in triangle 1, our sine of u is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is going to give us a 1 over radical 2. So now, if we look at angle v, we know that the cosine of x would require that our adjacent side is an x and the hypotenuse is a 1. Using Pythagorean's theorem, we're able to find our opposite side has the value of radical 1 minus x squared, which allows us to find the sine of v. So the sine of v would be our opposite over our hypotenuse, which would give us a value of the square root of 1 minus x squared. So we can now plug in our sines, but we're still missing our cosines, so we need to find those. So if we look back to our first triangle, we can see that the cosine of u is going to be the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which is going to be a 1 over square root of 2, and that our cosine of v is going to be our adjacent over our hypotenuse, which is x over 1, or just x. So now we can plug in all 4 of our values. So we'll go ahead and we'll plug those in. So the cosine of u is 1 over the square root of 2. The cosine of v is x. The sine of u is 1 over the square root of 2. And the sine of v is the square root of 1 minus x squared. Multiplying those out gives us a value of x over radical 2 minus the square root of 1 minus x squared over the square root of 2. And we have a common denominator, so we can put those together. And we're going to have x minus the square root of 1 minus x squared all over the square root of 2. And here we've just written in our algebraic expression for the cosine of arctangent 1 plus arccosine x.